Straight ahead on Law&Crime Daily, the murder of beauty queen Tara Grinstead.
He said he brought the gloves after he killed her.
Hear audio recording of Ryan Duke's confession. And custody disagreements, love triangles, and a murder-for-hire plot. We look ahead to the retrial of Katherine Magbanua. Plus,
I'm not looking for a little bit of marijuana, but I'm pretty sure you guys as chaperones probably going to be disappointed in you.
did Georgia officers racially profile Delaware State University students? But first, exes Johnny Depp and Amber Heard face off in court.
Johnny had the bottle inside of me and was shoving it inside of me over and over again.
What you can expect to see during Amber Heard's cross-examination. Law&Crime Daily covering court cases from coast to coast. Welcome everyone to Law&Crime Daily. I'm your host, Brian Buckmeyer. Amber Heard's direct examination is expected to resume on Monday, and soon after, an intense cross-examination will follow. Co-host Terry Austin joins us now to explain what we could expect to see when cross-examination begins. Terry?
Brian, the defamation trial against Amber Heard began on April 11th, and now, 5 weeks later, Depp's attorneys are poised to begin Heard's cross-examination. In reality, they began preparing for the cross-examination the minute Amber Heard took the stand. There are numerous inconsistencies in Heard's testimony, but Depp's attorneys need to focus on two main issues to win their defamation claim. First, they must demonstrate that the December 2018 Washington Post article was referring to Johnny Depp. The ACLU representative, Terrence Dougherty, made that perfectly clear.
And isn't it true that Ms. Heard's advisors initially revised the draft to remove any reference to Ms. Heard's marriage or divorce?
I recall a number of email communications back and forth among ACLU personnel and Ms. Heard's attorneys where they were suggesting edits to the op-ed relating to matters covered in the NDA.
And then isn't it also true that there were some at the ACLU who expressed their belief that excising those references to her marriage and divorce from Johnny Depp made the op-ed less impactful, correct?
It is correct. That is correct.
She was referring at least in part to Johnny Depp, correct?
Yeah, based on my review of prior drafts of the op-ed, I knew that there were that she was referring to Johnny Depp and her marriage.
Next, Depp's team must demonstrate that Amber Heard is lying about the domestic violence she claims Depp committed against her for years. And if Depp can prove she's lying about one incident, the jury can easily infer that she's lying about all of them. Heard's account of the incident in Australia was particularly incredulous.
Is this the game table?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And is this, based on your testimony, is this were you on top of this table?
Yeah, that he briefly got on top of me and was pushing on my throat, actually, at some point when I was on the table. I had forgotten about that. And this, though, looks like it is after a lot of the stuff was cleaned up, because it didn't look quite like this.
Okay. And did the table collapse?
Yes, it did.
Objection, Your Honor. Leading.
Sustained.
What, if anything, happened to the table?
The table collapsed underneath me when Johnny threw me into it and got on top of me, or fell on top of me. I honestly don't know which one.
Overall, the cross-examination of Amber Heard must be organized and methodical. In fact, I would prepare a timeline to serve as a demonstrative aid for the jury. Once the jury visualizes the magnitude of Heard's claims, it will be clear that if Depp repeatedly beat her, she would have sustained serious injuries over the course of their relationship. And there is absolutely no evidence of that. Brian?
Thanks, Terry. Joining us today is LA County Deputy Public Defender Philip Dubé. Philip, Amber Heard claims that Depp had either hit, punched, pushed, kicked, or sexually assaulted her on multiple occasions. Now, Terry kind of led to this, but if she lied about one of those incidents, is the jury able to believe that she lied about everything?
Absolutely. One of the pattern jury instructions throughout this country is the falsus in uno, falsus in omnibus, which basically tells the jury that if you believe that a witness or a party has lied about one material aspect of the case, you can disregard everything that they've said because they are not required to believe a word that the witness says. Now, on the other hand, they're not required to disregard it. It's discretionary. So they could find, yeah, maybe she told a couple of white lies. Maybe she was a little hyperbolic in her choice of words and her characterizations and the over dramatization of what occurred. But we do believe her in other aspects of her testimony. Where she's going to have trouble, though, is showing how the photographic, the demonstrative evidence belies how she physically appeared at the time these photos were taken. That when you compare how she claims everything went down to how it's depicted in photos, it just doesn't jive.
Absolutely.
So we'll see. In the end, the jury might just, instead of giving them each $50 or $100 million, give them each a Razzie.
Yeah, could be. Terry, based on your analysis of what Depp's team needs to do during cross-examination, what would be your first question?
My first question would be, what is it that you actually are saying as far as that Washington Post article is concerned? I'd start by playing the testimony that we just saw of Terrence Dougherty, and I would say, you heard what he said there about the emails going back and forth, about deleting the references to your marriage. Now, are you trying to tell this jury that that article was not about Johnny Depp? Remember, you are under oath. That's how I would start that cross-examination.
Yeah, good way to start. From there, you can go in many different directions. Thank you both for the update. Still ahead on Law&Crime Daily, years after the murder of a Florida State University professor, an alleged accomplice will stand trial for the second time. But first, a group of collegiate lacrosse players say they were racially profiled during a traffic stop in Georgia. Still ahead, we show you the body camera footage. Welcome back to Law&Crime Daily. Delaware State University says members of its women's lacrosse team were racially profiled during a traffic stop in Georgia last month. The HBCU released a statement reading in part, quote, "We do not intend to let this or any incident like it pass idly by. We have video, we have allies." All this comes after an April 20th traffic stop in Georgia when the team's bus was stopped after a game on the road. At first, officers told the bus driver a Georgia state law was violated. After that, the university's president says the officers attempted to intimidate students into confessing they had illegal drugs or paraphernalia. Body camera footage of the incident was released shortly after.
We're going to check y'all's luggage, okay? If there is anything in y'all's luggage, we're probably going to find it, okay? I'm not looking for a little bit of marijuana, but I'm pretty sure you guys as chaperones are probably going to be disappointed in you if we find any. You guys are on a lacrosse team, correct? So if there is something in there that is questionable, please tell me now. Because if we find it, guess what? We're not going to be able to help you. Okay? You go out in the state of Georgia, marijuana is still illegal in the state of Georgia. Okay? Anything that you can put marijuana in, maybe a device where you smoke it, maybe something that you would weigh it, like a set of scales. Anything, okay? If there's nothing, then I'm thankful to make my job a lot easier. We're going to get this done, and we'll have you guys on your way.
Following the incident, the Liberty County Sheriff released a statement saying officers did not know who was inside the bus because of the vehicle's height and tinted windows. The sheriff also noted nothing illegal was found during the search. Philip, real quick, what's a pretextual stop, and was this legal or an illegal stop by the police?
Well, the short answer is constitutionally, even if it was pretextual, it's a big so what. It doesn't matter legally as long as they truly pulled them over for a moving violation. And according to the officers, they pulled that bus over because it was riding in the wrong lanes. I think they were limited to the far too right lanes in traffic. Yes, it's not, a federal case or a serious matter, but it is a traffic infraction and probable cause to pull the bus over. over. My understanding, though, that they had drug-sniffing canines that alerted once the bus pulled over. If that's the case, constitutionally, it's not a search. They do not need a warrant. It's probable cause to search. And unfortunately, they didn't find anything, but does that mean it's unconstitutional or illegal? The short answer is it could be. If these kids were all held and detained beyond the time necessary to investigate and cite the driver for that stupid little moving violation, then yes, it became a prolonged detention, and their civil rights were violated under Section 1983, for which that claim could be compensable.
Yeah. Now, Terry, as both a parent and a lawyer, what is your reaction to these young women being stopped like this, and are there any legal recourses?
You know, it is very difficult to watch these young women being stopped and searched and having all of their luggage exposed like that. And I'm sure they didn't know what to think about it. From a legal perspective, obviously, Philip is right about that. But if those dogs were searching and they saw something on the outside, I don't think they had a right to go on the inside and subject these women to an unreasonable search and seizure, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if, one, why were the drug-sniffing dogs even brought? And two, if they didn't find anything, what are they detecting? Still a lot of questions, a lot of answers to be resolved in this case, and we'll follow it as it continues. And an update now on the American basketball player being held in Russia. Officials now say WNBA star Brittany Griner's release has been extended by 1 month. Griner has been held in Russia since February after being accused of drug smuggling. The U.S. government says she is being wrongfully detained. Some supporters speculate Griner is being purposely held amidst the Russia-Ukraine conflict. This week, a Russian court ruled Griner will be detained until at least June 18th. Coming up on Law and Crime Daily, defendant Ryan Duke tells investigators what led up to the murder of beauty queen Tara Grinstead. Plus, we take a closer look at the murder of law professor Dan Marco and the twisted web of suspects involved. Welcome back. We're looking ahead now to the retrial of Katherine Magbanua, a woman accused of being the go-between in the murder-for-hire plot of a Florida State University professor. Dan Markell was shot and killed in 2014. At the time, he and wife Wendy Adelson were in a custody battle. Prosecutors say Wendy's brother, Charlie Adelson, recruited his then-girlfriend, Katherine Magbanua, to help murder Markell. Magbanua contacted the father of her children, Sigfredo Garcia, who later enlisted Luis Rivera. Officials say Garcia and Rivera then shot and killed Markell. In 2019, Garcia and Magbanua were tried as co-defendants. Garcia was convicted and given life in prison without parole. But the jury was unable to reach a verdict for Magbanua. Last month, Charlie Adelson was arrested and charged with first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and solicitation of murder. Magbanua faces the same 3 charges. Jury selection in her retrial is expected to begin on Monday. Stay with the Law and Crime Network for gavel-to-gavel coverage of the trial. Terry, does Charlie Adelson's supposed connection as a financier of this murder create a new level to this charge in these cases for Magbanua? Could he testify against her in her case?
Oh, he definitely could testify against her. And I think now that he's been arrested, he's going to be pointing the finger away from him and towards Magbanua. There's no question about it. And we already know that the other 2 defendants have already been convicted. And so he is going to try to get her convicted and try to save himself. He's got these serious charges, as you mentioned, the first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, solicitation of murder. That's very serious. So he's going to do everything he can to protect himself and to point the finger everywhere else but him and his family.
Yeah, what's the old saying? Follow the money. Might do that just with him. Philip, age-old question we ask it of everyone. Who do you think has the advantage in a retrial? And based on that, who do you think will win this second trial against Magbanua?
Well, the short answer, it depends. Absent a grant of immunity for Charlie, if he takes a stand and testifies against her, I think she's dead in the water, because that's an additional missing piece of the evidence that they didn't have at the first trial. But on retrial, if they don't give him immunity, Charlie's going to take the 5th. He's also jointly charged or separately indicted. No lawyer is going to let him take the stand. So I think the prosecution's case is just as weak and as shaky as it was in the first go-around. But again, if they give him immunity, she's dead in the water.
Yeah, but that takes a little bit of time as well. With this trial on Monday, maybe they don't get their ducks in a row to give him immunity for that opportunity. So we'll have to stay tuned to Law and Crime Network to see that, because that's going to be exciting as to whether or not he takes the stand. When we come back, defendant Ryan Duke confesses to the murder of Tara Grinstead. Hear Duke's first-hand account of the murder and why he says he was inside Tara Grinstead's house. Welcome back. As week one comes to a close in the Tara Grinstead murder trial, we're hearing from defendant Ryan Duke himself. In 2017, Duke and Bo Dukes were charged in connection to Grinstead's murder. The pair are not related, but were friends at the time of Grinstead's disappearance. The small-town teacher and beauty queen went missing from her Georgia home in 2005. For years, the case had few leads until the podcast Up and Vanish reignited an interest in the case. After its release, both Dukes and Bo Dukes were arrested. Prosecutors say Ryan Duke confessed to killing Grinstead after he broke into her home. Later, Bo Dukes helped burn her body in a pecan orchard. Duke's attorneys later said he was under the influence of drugs during the confession. On Thursday, jurors heard audio clips of Ryan Duke's 2017 confession, where he explained why he entered Grinstead's home.
I used to break into people's houses just to steal money. I was a drug addict. I've been drinking. I was high. I don't remember everything clearly. Okay. But I was stealing from a purse, and she snuck up on me, and I hit her. I didn't mean to. Purely reactionary, and I ran. I didn't know what else to do, you know, and that's the only reason I didn't come forward before. Okay. I can't lie. I can't live with myself. I'm so sick of this stuff.
I mean, if y'all had a relationship or there was something else there, that's okay. She had relationships with lots of other people, including other students. That's not a secret.
No, sir, I didn't. I never even had a conversation with her.
Okay.
You know.
So you hit her and she fell, and you think that at that point she was probably gone. Because you had to go, y'all both went back there and she was still not moving.
No, sir, I went back by myself.
Okay.
After jurors heard Ryan Duke's confession, prosecutors questioned a lead investigator about the police interview. He explained what Ryan Duke said happened after Grinstead was killed and how the famed latex glove came to be found on her property.
When did the defendant indicate he brought the glove to Tara's home?
He said he brought the gloves after he killed her. He said he killed her, then left the house in a rush, went back to his house to gather a quilt and the gloves to then come back to the crime scene, which is, again, when he made the phone call on his way back to the house and then went to the house.
Towards the end of the video portion, we hear you discussing going out there or him taking you somewhere. Where is it that you wanted him to go with you?
The orchard where they dumped the body, where he dumped the body the first time, and then they took the body to the secondary location.
Okay. And before I move on, let's talk about that. The information that you just said, where he dumped the body and then they took it to a secondary location. Can you tell us what you mean by that from what Ryan Duke told you?
Sure. He said when he took her out to the orchard, he put her into the pecan orchard, and that the body stayed there for several days before they went back out. He and Bo went back out there to the orchard, and then that's when Bo found out and saw the body for the first time, and then they moved the body from there together to deeper into the woods to the pine tree area, then went back to the shed and got the loads of wood from the shed that was located just near the entrance as you go in, and then proceeded to burn the body.
Philip, factually speaking, does Duke's confession make sense with the evidence that we've seen so far at trial?
Oh, yes. You know, this young man was not on a magical mystery ride from quaaludes and hallucinogenics. He was clearly quite clear and level-headed. He wasn't labile or dysregulated in how he recounted what occurred. His starting point, remember, is that he broke in looking for drug money. He happens to be a drug addict. The house appeared to be ransacked. She was not there. So, you know, in the end, for him, The drugs appeared to be a real truth serum, and he had too much detail to say that he was on a magical mystery ride of intoxication. So I think it's a very, very damaging confession. And if memory serves me, he also confessed prior to that at a bar or at a party, just sort of informally to friends and attendees at this get-together. So he told the same story twice. So unless he was under the influence of the same drug twice and gave the same account, you know, bad luck. But otherwise, I think he's in jeopardy.
Exactly. Now, Terry, Duke's defense says that he was under the influence when he gave this confession. His body language, his tone, his story, everything about him, does that read to you that he was under the influence?
You know what, Brian, when I listened and I looked at that confession, it does not look like he's under the influence of narcotics or any other drug for that matter. You know, as a jury, you have to listen to the content of what they're saying, but you also have to watch their mannerisms. And he did admit that he was tired, but beyond that, his speech was clear, he was lucid, he sat up, he looked in the eyes of those who were questioning him, and he described the murder with great detail. So I don't think that he in any way was under the influence. So I think the jury is going to take that confession for what it's worth.
Yeah, well, we'll see what the jury does with that confession. Philip, Terry, thank you very much. And thank you for joining us here at Law and Crime Daily. We'll see you next time as we discuss justice in America.